Business 100, Chapter 5, Managing the Business, Segment number 1. In the management process, they talk about the various redo. In the management process, there are various elements, including planning, organizing, leading, and controlling an organization's resources to achieve its goals. So what does controlling an organization's resources mean? Well, you have trade-offs. You only have a certain amount of time in the day. You only have a certain amount of money. You only have a certain amount of equipment and so many things like that. And so you have to decide, do I spend my time working on this? Do I spend my money working on that? And so that's how you evaluate controlling the organization's resources. Here's a nice little management process diagram, and it really says each of these 4 elements interact with each other. So basic management functions. Planning has to do with the management process of determining what an organization needs to do and how best to get it done. So the first part is what an organization needs to do. It's more about direction, okay? It's we are going to be a provider of janitorial services. That's where we're going to do. How best to get it done? You're figuring out how you set everything up to make it happen. And so it's more of a, one's like kind of like the goal, and the second one is more or less the pathway to get to that goal. Of course, you also have organizing. There's the descriptor there. Leading, another element, and it talks about management process of guiding and motivating employees to meet an organization's objectives. So you can motivate people both in positive ways and negative ways. Positive ways could be bonuses, pay raises, appreciation dinners. Negative, of course, could be disciplinary action, termination, and all those other more unpleasant ways of dealing with poor motivation. And when we talk about the element of controlling, we're talking about an organization's resources, management process of monitoring an organization's performance. So really it's how are we monitoring how well we're doing? What are the measures that say this is important to us? If we're doing well on these things, we're doing well as a company. And so you're trying to figure out what those things are and then meticulously monitor them to see how well you're doing against what you think is important. And the question is are these 2 items contradictory? And the answer is no. You can both lead and control, not a problem. So here's the control process. And you say that you establish standards of performance. You measure actual performance against these standards. And how well are you doing with that comparison? But the question is whose standards? Well, it could very well be your company's standards. This is what we're going to be. This is how well we're going to do in these various areas. And they could be standards that are, again, developed by the company. In other cases, it could be organizational standards like how much pollution are you pumping into the air from your facility, and so your performance against those standards could be external standards. There are types of managers that include top managers, middle managers, first line managers. And what is another name for a first line manager? That's oftentimes a supervisor of probably hourly people, or people at the very, very bottom of the organizational structure. Oftentimes are people that are supervised by first line managers. You see the 3 levels of management. You have the top managers, and we're talking about presidents, vice presidents, treasurers, CEO, etc. Middle managers, plant managers, operations managers, division managers, etc. First line managers or supervisors, etc. And here's some of the responsibilities. Areas of management. We have human resource managers, which I think a lot of times it's a pretty nice job, but there's also negative sides to it. You hire and train employees. So the pros of that would be that training helps develop people. You get to hire people, which is kind of fun because you're looking for new talent. You evaluate performance. If they're doing well, then that's a pro because you get to say, wow, you're doing all these wonderful things. Of course, the con would be in terms of evaluating performance is saying you're really not doing the job that we need you to do. So you need to either start stepping up and doing a better job, or we may have to let you go. So that would be the con. And determining compensation, again, you're paying people, which they like. You may not be paying them as much as they think they're worth, which would be a con. In addition to the things listed here, sometimes there are other sorts of incentive programs, employee picnics, and let's see, things like maybe birthday cards on their birthday. So that could be a positive thing as well. Operations managers and marketing managers are responsible for getting product from producers to consumers. That I personally don't really agree with. They are a piece of the process because you still have other people that need to facilitate it, such as purchasing departments, the operations departments. A whole range of people have to come together to help get that product from producer to consumer. There's information managers, financial managers, logistics managers, and that's really oftentimes more like the trucking side of it, or the transportation side of it. We have this product, how do we get from point A to point B, and do we need to put it in a warehouse in the middle? So those are all things that logistics people worry about.